again. All right, so
I was just,
I'm back on
I was,
recording. I had to shut everything down because I had to restart my computer. What happened is I lost my connection, my internet connection. Okay?
okay.
Okay.
See, I was just about to send you a text and no, what happened?
No, it was just that it just suddenly cut right off. I hope it don't do it again. And yeah, so I had to go up and reboot my computer, and my son, there was a switch upstairs we have to reset, and he went in and reset it, and we had to wait 25 seconds, and then I started it up, and so now everything's closed. So now I have to open everything back up. Give me a second to do that, and we'll continue. What I'm going to be doing tonight, while we're here wasting time, I got Crystal, I got Tamara, and I got Breeze here. Breeze, are you okay? Or Crystal, you okay? I already spoke to Tamara. Tamara, I believe, is okay. You guys okay so far?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Both of you good? You don't have any problems?
Not so far, no.
Okay. All right. So in a minute, I'm going to open up Illustrator, and I am going to start by giving you a very detailed look at how we go ahead and create this die line, this packaging layout. This is one of the first steps that you want to do. It's probably one of the more technical aspects of what you're going to do in this course. It's actually rather easy. Did I get this thing launched or what? Yeah, I think it did. It's a little bit on the technical side, but it's fun to do. And it gives you the opportunity to, it gives me the opportunity to show you some interesting things about Illustrator. And it gives you the opportunity to learn a few more things that you may not know about Illustrator. We're going to be using basic shapes, but I'm going to show you a number of ways that we can modify shapes. That's part of what we're going to look at tonight. Wednesday night, I'm going to get into more detail about the boxing, how we make the boxes, and the container, your bottle, and how we apply labeling to it. We'll also work on the labeling a little bit. Here we go. But tonight, pretty much, I'm going to take my time and focus on how to create this box because I want to show you exactly how to do it to get the best effect. And have any of you started it yet?
No.
I looked at it.
Okay, well, I'm going to go through it step by step. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And hopefully after I get done with the whole thing, you'll say to yourself, gee, that's not that difficult to do. I'll take my time. You can feel free to ask me questions any point as we go through this. I'll try to stop at that point and explain it to you in detail, whatever it takes. I've wasted 20 minutes, so I'll have to go a little bit longer tonight to make up the time. Is that okay with you guys, if we need to?
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, I have no control over it. The internet just went out. That's all there is to it. I'm glad you guys didn't ditch on me.
No, we sat there and talked for a minute, but it made me the host, so we were afraid it didn't let you back in because I was the host.
Who's that, Crystal?
Breezy, and I told Tamara, I said, I don't know why it made me the host because there's no way I can teach you any of this.
Well, I think it had to I think it ultimately had to decide on somebody being the host, and apparently you were the one that it decided on, you know? You have to have a host in this meeting. And I got knocked out, so it had to, I don't know, I never had it happen before. I just assumed
made the
that.
wrong decision because I was the wrong choice.
The important thing is that all three of you stayed. You were smart enough to know that as soon as I could get back, I would get back, and I did. And that's really what happened. I mean, you saw I was just suddenly gone, right?
Yeah, we were like, you were talking, and then we were like, huh.
Bye.
I actually just got in anyway because my fiance had to get a tooth pulled.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah. All right, here comes Illustrator. So that's step one. We're getting close. We're getting close. Bear with me. This is I hate it when this kind of thing happens. I really do. It throws me all off. Let me just see if I can get this thing rolling here. Come on, come on, come on. Wow. Oh, this is going to be one heck of a recording, let me tell you.
You sound like me in midday traffic.
Well, the problem is I try to do my best with these recordings, and I have like this big dog, and the big dog suddenly will start barking or the phone will ring. So I shut the phone off and I lock the dog out. I do all this stuff hoping I'll have a nice quiet environment, and then what happens? The computer internet goes down. And so you can't win. So here's Dieline AI. Okay, so here we go. Let me get this going, and I'll stop fooling around, and we'll get down to business. So here's what I am going to do. I'm going to work on my hot sauce box. I chose a hot sauce. Now, it doesn't matter. You guys choose whatever one you want. There is, right, that there is a template that you're going to download, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that part.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you're not going to do anything but use the instructions here. This is just kind of a visual aid for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I did mine. And then you can sort of use the same basic technique that I used for mine for yours. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to start off by making sure that I really don't need a fill on this, so I'm going to get rid of the fill. And I'm just going to make sure that I got a stroke of black. And this isn't, actually, I'll just click that for black. There we go. So I got a stroke of black. I'm going to start off with a stroke of black, and I'm going to start off with no fill. But before I do this, I just want to show you what it is that we're really doing. So you're familiar with the layers panel?
Yes.
Okay. So what I did was I went in and I created 4 layers. And you don't need to create 4 layers. You only need to create 3 layers because I'm going to create mine all over again. And I'm going to show you how I did it in steps. And then I'm going to create it. So I created 5 layers to do that. What I would do if I were you is I'd create my first layer, call it the sample layer. And what that sample is that template. Okay? Got it?
Got it.
So you'll create that layer, put your template on that layer. And by the way, this document size, it's supposed to be a very specific size, but you can, since this is Adobe Illustrator, you can go in and modify the size of your document anytime you want by going to the, right here, to the Pages panel, the Artboard panel, and by clicking here and going to Artboard Options, and then you can change the width. Now, my width is 32 inches and a height of 15, okay? That's only for now, but you can change it, and you don't have to make it that size. You can make it as big as you want. The size of our panel is 7.5 inches tall by 2 inches wide. I just made it really big so I would have no trouble working on it, okay? That's how you can do this. Or you can set your document up. What I did actually was I actually opened my template, and then I adjusted the size of my artboard right here. You know that Artboard tool? Do you know what that is?
I think I saw that in the Illustrator class, but I haven't used it much.
Well, what it does is
Yeah, me either.
by clicking it, what it does is it gives you the ability to come in here and change the size of your artboard. See? That's all it does. You can make the artboard bigger or smaller as ever you want. See, that's what it does. Just by dragging it. And then you get out of there by just clicking off of the tool. So you can change the size of your artboard. I made my artboard bigger by doing that very thing. Okay? You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so now I have these 4 layers. Now, here is my original. So this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to show you how to build all these boxes. I'm going to do it one step at a time so that you could have the opportunity to question me as I do it. I am then going to come in here and I'm going to show you how to modify my boxes so that it looks like what you're supposed to do over here. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then the final thing is I'm going to show you how to create a bleed for this whole thing. Okay? So in the end, what you're going to end up with is this guy right here. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to hide that layer. This is the first step. The first step is to set all this stuff up. All right?
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Layer 5. I'm going to call this original. O-R-I-G-I-N-A-L, and I'm going to call it original 2, okay? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create, or I should say recreate this, and I want to actually do it so that you can actually see how I do it. And then this way you guys will be able to do it on your own, okay? So what I'm going, remember now, I have no fill and a stroke. That's how I'm going to start this whole thing. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to bring out my tools. I don't really need these out, but I'm going to bring them out anyway. Bring it over here. And I'm using the regular old rectangle tool, right? Only instead of me drawing the rectangle, because I have a very specific size I'm going for, see it right there? The front side and the back panel are 2 inches wide by 7.5 inches high, okay? To get that, I'm just going to take my tool and I'm going to click. And I get my rectangle dialog box. Did you ever see this and use this before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used that one before.
Yeah, so
I've seen it, but I haven't used it.
So now what I can do is I can just come in here and I can put in the numbers 2IN, and I can hit tab and I can put 7.5 IN and hit OK. Boom, look at that. Now I know that that's 2 by 7.5. Perfect, right? So now I got my panel. These 4 panels are all going to be the exact same size panel. All 4 of those panels are going to be the same size panel. So, oh, and by the way, I've locked all these other layers and hid them, right? You're not going to have to worry about that because you won't do it. What I'm going to now do, there's several ways I could do this. I could go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, or with it selected, with that shape selected, I could hold down the Alt key or the Option key. You're on a Mac, so if yours, I believe it's the Option. On mine, it's the Alt, right?
Yeah.
You're right.
I'm going to hold down the Shift key at the same time, and I'm going to drag out. Now, look at, you see I have my smart guides going, guys?
Yep.
Can you see that there's a line that runs through it and it says intersect?
Yes.
Okay, that means basically that my lines are intersecting one another. I've moved it to the point of intersection, which means that they are basically sitting one on top of each other. And I'm doing that on purpose. I want them to slightly overlap each other for a later step. So you understand?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm going to select both of these guys by marquee. You know what a marquee is, right? Where you drag through both of the items to select it.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to come back over here, hold the Alt key down again, and I'm going to hold the Shift key again, and I'm going to drag these up. I didn't get it right. Hold on. Let me get it. Let me hold down the Shift key and the Alt key. And now let me drag these 2 guys. Oh, geez. Now it's not going to let me do it. Let me do it. Let me select it. Let me click Alt key and start dragging it. Hold the Shift key down. There we go. And now I'm going to drag it over here until I get the intersect again. You see the intersect? Very important that you get the intersect. So look at that. In no time at all right, I'm going to hide these layers for the time being because I no longer need them for this minute. See how quick it is for me to just do the whole center part of this thing? I mean, it's real simple, right? Guys think you could do that?
Yeah, it looks
Yep.
pretty easy.
Real easy, real easy. It is not hard at all. Okay, so the next thing is we have a top and a bottom of the panel. Now the top and the bottom of the panel are, this is a side, and this is a front, that's a side, that's a back, that's a side. Each one of those are 2 inches. So a top would have to be 2 by 2, right? 2 by 2 for a top, 2 by 2 for a bottom, right? Does that make sense to you?
It does.
So again, come over here with my rectangle tool and just click. And this time change the height from 7.5 to 2 and hit OK. And there you have a top. I'm going to click on it, hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to drag it over until I get my guides. You see how it sort of snaps in place and I get my guides that say intersect, and you can see how that one line runs down the middle from the center point of the square to the center point of my long rectangular panel. Can you see what's happening there?
Yes.
See that line? And you understand where those lines are connecting to?
Yes.
The center point of each of those objects, right? See that center point? That line was showing down to this center point right there. That's what it was doing, telling me that both of these guys are properly lined up and that they slightly overlap. That's exactly what I want. All right?
Okay.
Now I'm going to click this guy, and what I'm trying to do, just so that you understand, I'm trying to do this in the simplest way possible. I mean, I'm looking at this saying, what is the easiest way I can do this? That's what I am trying to do here. I'm trying to make something look like this, and I'm trying to do it in the easiest possible way that I can do it. So that's my goal. So again, I'm going to come over here on this, click on it, hold down the Alt key and the Shift key, and I'm going to drag this all the way down until it snaps, intersect. See, I'm looking for intersect, and I'm also looking for the center line connecting to the center points. You see that?
Yep.
Right there. Come on, right there. Let go of it. And now I have my top of the box and my bottom and my 4 panels. I'm going to go File, Save As. Save As. And I'm going to change the name on this to die line, and I'm going to underscore BILL. What this is going to do is it's going to create a new document for me around the other document with this new work on it. All right?
Okay.
All right. Now, the last thing that we have to do here to create our panels, we have these flaps. We have the inner flaps on both sides we have to create. And then we have the fold-over flaps that will help connect the top to the side. In other words, it'll fold the top in and fold the bottom in. And this is your glue flap. The glue flap is something that ultimately in production they use to attach the box after they score it and fold it all together. They glue it with that glue flap. If you've ever taken a box apart, you've seen this and you know what I'm talking about. So do you kind of understand what I'm getting at with this?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so you know what? The easiest way to do this is it gives you instructions here. The top and bottom tuck flap is 2 by 2. Wait a minute. Bottom flap 2 by tuck flap is 2 by 0.5. No, there's no way. That's not 2. That's not half an inch.
It's the C. It's right above the
Yeah.
B.
Yeah, C is right above B, so it's a little bit smaller.
It's what you tuck into the box.
Okay. So it's that guy right there. Okay. All right. Well, I guess what we could do with that is we could do this. I could come over here and click, and then it's 2 by point. What is it? 2 point by 0.5 by 0.5. Okay. And I got that little guy right there. And again, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to bring it over here until it intersects. Okay. And it lines up with my point. So now I have my little tuck flap, I guess they're calling it. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to drag it all the way down until it intersects at the bottom. The important, you know what? Control Z. I missed the point. I have to hold down the Alt key. I forgot to hold the Alt key down. And I'll bring it down until it intersects at the bottom. Okay? So now I got all of the things that I need. Whoever's got the kid, close the mic because it'll get in our recording. Okay. All right, so that's that. Now, what's the other one here? The side, the top, bottom, tuck flap, top, bottom, side flaps. 1.15. Okay, I got it. All right, so now I guess these are the flaps they're talking about right here. Click on this guy and click. And it's going to be 2 by 1.25. 1.25. Okay, there it is. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to just grab that guy and I'm going to bring him over until it locks in right there. And again, it intersects. Look for the intersection. And look, these are smart guides. Look for the smart guides to intersect it and to center it along the vertical axis with the center panel beneath it. I'm going to, again, hold down the Alt key, click on it, and I'm going to drag it down until it intersects and locks into place at the bottom, okay? And then I'm going to select both of these guys, again, trying to do this as quick as I can. By selecting both of them, I hold the Shift key down. You guys know that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm selecting more than one. I'm using the Shift key. And I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to carefully drag these guys over until it aligns at the end like that. And now I have all the pieces done except for my glue flap. And the glue flap is a 1/2 inch by 7.5. So once again, click here and click here. And then this is going to have a width of 0.5, and then it's going to have a 7.5, and hit OK. Perfect. And then I'm just going to take this guy and I'm going to snap it in place right there. And there it is. That's how you built that box. Now, what do you think, guys? You got any questions? Does that seem difficult in any way, shape, or form?
Nope.
Oh, it seems pretty easy.
Okay, good. That's what I want to hear. So the next step is I'm going to actually save this as an emergency or as a backup. In case I go wrong, I want to save this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything by marqueing it. I marquee the whole thing. See how I got the whole thing selected? I'm going to go to my Layers panel. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to go Edit Copy, all right? And I'm going to lock the original layer and go Edit Paste in Place. And it automatically places it on that other layer right above it, okay? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. And I'm going to create another, and I'm going to call this layer, I'm going to call this layer my, trim, T-R-I-M. I'm going to call that my trim. And now I'm going to create another layer on top of that, lock the trim layer for a second, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste in Place there, and I'm going to call this my bleed, B-L-E-E-D, bleed. Okay, so now I have my bleed layer, all right? There's my bleed layer. See it, everybody? It's yellow. When I select it all, it's yellow. Got that?
Got it.
Good. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do to make the bleed. To make the bleed, what I'm going to do is with it all selected, I'm going to go to the window menu. Let me see if I can get this down here because this is right in the way. It's my thing at the top's right in the way. Go to the window menu, and I'm going to go to Pathfinder right there. And we have a Pathfinder tool or a shape builder tool, but I like to use my Pathfinder panel. I think it's easier for you to really comprehend what I'm doing. And I'm going to click Unite. And I actually have a little bit of a problem because a few of these guys are a little bit off. So let me see if I can start off by selecting those guys. Let's go Edit, Undo. Undo, Add. Okay, let's go back and let's move these things down just one. And I'll move this guy down just one. And let's see if this works. And I think I'm going to take these guys down here. I need to do the same thing with these guys. Move it up just one. And this guy up just one. What I'm trying to do, cancel. I'm trying to make sure that they all are overlapping one another because I want them all to go into one solid piece. You understand what my problem was?
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw it?
Yeah, it didn't unite them all together.
Not the correct way. So now I'm going to give it another shot. Let's go to the window menu. I guess I closed that window. Let's go to Pathfinder again, and let's try Unite now. Ah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for, guys. See that right there? That's what I'm looking for. Okay? Now, here's what I want to do. I want to show you how this is going to work. So I'm going to open up this, and I'm going to bring my trim back. Okay, so you can see now that there's a trim layer and there's a bleed layer. Now what I want to do is I want to select the bleed layer, okay? The bleed has to be 1/8 of an inch greater in size than the trim, okay? Now look, there's my bleed. There's my bleed on the original. See it? Now what I'm going to do is with that bleed selected, I'm going to go to the object menu. I'm going to go to path, and I'm going to go offset path. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an offset of 0.125 IN. Do you know how much that is? 0.125? You guys, are you familiar with that?
That's an eighth
An
of an
eighth of
inch.
an inch.
An eighth of an inch, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so now when I hit OK, what should happen is that yellow highlighted line should now jump out all the way around 1/8 of an inch off of my trim area. Okay? Let's see if it does it. Hit OK? There it is. Look at that. Watch what I'm going to do is while it's selected, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to double click on this and I'm going to change it to red because red is normal color for a trim. So I'm going to choose red and now watch when I deselect it. See how I got my trim?
Okay.
Easy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys,
Quick question.
what?
When you change the angles on your flaps, does your bleed automatically change to that as well?
Nope, I'm going to show you how to do all of that. I haven't got there yet. I'm going to show you how to do all of that. I haven't done it yet. I will do it shortly, but I haven't got there yet.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. I was just wondering if it automatically did it.
No, it doesn't. There's no automatic anything in here. It's all a step-by-step process, and that's why, you know, I'm taking my time and I'm doing the step-by-step process, hopefully as slow as I can, which will make it easier for you to understand what I'm doing and not, you know, want to tear your hair out and then come and shoot me. I'm trying to make this easy for you, okay? So I am trying to take, huh?
You are.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back into our layers panel right now, and let's see what we got. So far, let's hide that. No, we don't need to hide that. I got my trim, and I have my bleed. Right. Here's my bleed and my trim. So I'm going to take this bleed right here, and I'm going to, let's see, what am I going to do with this guy here? What I have to do with this is I have to delete this. I don't need this anymore. Delete that. There we go. And now I'm going to go back to my trim. There we go. Okay, so that's what I really need. So what it did was it offset it, but it left the original. I just deleted that. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. That's what I just did. There was a path there, and I offset it. And in offsetting it, it left the original, but it created a new path offset by 1/8 of an inch. You guys understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to do this. I want to take the trim layer, and I want to duplicate the trim layer. I'm going to just drag it down here, and I'm going to duplicate it. So now I have trim layer copy, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide that first trim layer, and I'm going to unlock this trim layer. Because this trim layer, I'm going to call this bleed. I'm not bleed. Real trim, R-E-A-L-T-R-I-M, real trim, just so that you understand the difference. This is going to be my real trim. This is where I'm going to get into the demonstration of how to modify the box so that it looks like the shape from this shape. See, these are still individual sections, right? Okay, so since they're all individual sections, I can go in and I can tweak and modify all those sections. You understand?
Yes.
Okay, so the next step for me is to come in here and make the modifications so that this will really begin to look like a proper box and not a halfway there box. Okay, so I'm going to lock the bleed layer for the time being. The only layer I got is my trim layer because that's what I'm going to start working on. Are we good?
Yes.
All right, I want to zoom in on this because I want to make it a little easier for you to see. So I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, okay? Now, this guy here I'm done with. I'm not going to use those shapes anymore. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use the group selection tool and the direct selection tool. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm tearing these things out. You remember from last week I showed you that if you sit over top of that tab, you can tear the tools out like that. Remember?
Yes.
All right. The reason I'm doing that is I want to start changing the shapes of these boxes or these flaps. And in order to do that, what I have to do is I have to utilize the direct selection tool. The difference between the regular selection tool selects the entire shape, okay? Do you know what the direct selection tool does?
Selects
It
points. on.
selects the paths.
It selects the paths or the anchor points, okay? So by selecting the direct selection tool and by clicking on any particular anchor point, such as that one right there, you see how that little anchor point gets blue and the others are white?
Yes.
I know it's hard to see, but can you see what I'm talking about? The one that I got selected is like solid blue and the others are like little square whites?
Yes.
Okay, that means that they're selected, and the others are not. Now, on your keyboard, if you look at your keyboard, in the lower right corner, you should have these little 4 arrows. Do you see the little 4 arrows on the keyboard, lower right corner?
Yes.
All right. The up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, and right arrow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to taper a few of these little panel tabs so that it will look more like the model. And to do that, with that left-hand anchor point selected, I'm going to use my right arrow key, and I'm going to move it in 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. That's all you really need is 4 times, okay? I just want you to be able to show me that you know what you're doing. So it's 4 little taps. Now I'm going to select the one on the other side, and I'm going to use the left arrow, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm modifying that to where it looks like that. Got it?
Huh.
Not hard, right?
That was so difficult. I'm bald on one side.
I tell you. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this guy right here. I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to go to my right arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go to my left arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't worry yet about our die line. We haven't really started working on that yet. We'll do that next. I'm just going to go through the process of doing this first, then I'll show you how to modify the die line. You good?
Good.
Good. All right. So I'm going to move on to this guy right over here. Click on it. And this is a right arrow now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm only going 4 times. You can go more if you want to make it a little bit more extreme looking. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can bring this up here, and I'll go over and show you. The others are a little bit more extreme than mine. See that? So you can go a little further with it, but I think for my purposes of demonstration, 4 is enough just so that you see what I'm doing, right? You guys got the idea what I'm doing, don't you?
Yes.
No question about it, right? You know what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, so again, direct selection tool, click on the point you want to affect, and use, in this case, just the arrow key. I'm using the one that points to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do the same thing on the glue tab over here. I'm going to click that one at the top, and this is going to be a down arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to scroll up a little bit, and I'll go to this part of the glue flap, and this is the up arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Easy? This one is on the bottom. This is a right arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this guy over here, which is a left arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this guy over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost done. And this guy right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this guy over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to the view menu. And let's fit artboard and window. Let me move this out of the way, and there you have it. Okay? So, any questions at all about what I did there?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could submit yours just like this. It would be appropriate because you have a bleed. But if you really want to make it look even better, what you want to do is you want to adjust the angles slightly of your bleed so that it follows the contour of the box a little bit better. The way to do that, it's actually fairly simple. What you're going to do is you're going to use the same basic process, but you're going to include, go over to your pen tool now, bring the pen tool out, and you're going to employ that guy right there, the Add Anchor Point tool. Are you familiar with the pen tool and its associated tools?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm going to go to the View menu, and I'm going to go Rulers, Show Rulers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a guide out. I think we did this last week, right? I dragged guides out last week, didn't I?
Yes.
Yep. So I'm going to drag this guide out, and I'm going to put that guide right there by that flap. See it? And I'm going to drag another guide out, and I'm going to place that other guide right there. See it? Right on those lines right there. Okay? You good so far? Any questions? Any questions at all?
No, no question.
Drag this one down to there, okay? And I'm actually laying these guides right there. Where those two lines are, where those two parts of the lines are, that's where I'm placing the guide. Then the other guide, this is the only other one I need, and that's going to go right here to that one. Right there. Let me get it there, right there. Okay? The reason that I'm doing that is I'm going to use the Add Anchor Point to add a couple of little anchor points to my die line or my bleed area, right? That's what I'm about to do, okay? So I wanted to make sure that I had some rulers, or some guides, I should say, so that I will hit my mark right. I'm going to zoom in so I can see better what I'm doing, okay? And let me just go to the View menu, and let me go to Guides and make sure that they're locked. Okay, my guides are locked. I wanted my guides to be locked so that I won't have my anchor point interfering with my guides, but they will go on my my bleed area. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be placing a couple of anchor points on my bleed area. The reason I'm going to be placing these anchor points is because I want to do the same technique that I did just a minute ago to modify the angles of my my bleed so that it follows the contour that I created with the box. Is that clear what I'm doing, what I'm explaining to you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then let me show you how I do it. So I click on the Add Anchor Point tool, and I come right over to here, and I make sure that I'm right by where this guy's saying intersect, and I'm sitting on top of my bleed, and I click to place it. Hold on. It's going to give me trouble. Hold on, let me get it in. Let me try it again. All right.
Are you on the right layer?
I don't know. I'll check. Let me see. I'm on my... No, it's locked. There's your reason. Okay, that's what it is. It's locked. So I unlocked the bleed layer. I'm working on the bleed layer. Thank you. That's exactly right. I'm on the wrong layer. So what I did was I unlocked the bleed layer, and I'm on the bleed layer. So now when I come over here, if I click on it, see how the bleed layer is activating? See that? Now I can come in here, click, and I've placed an anchor point. And I'm going to come over here and do the same thing right there. Click, and I'm going to place an anchor point. Okay? I'm going to scroll down because I have to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to click to place an anchor point. And I'm going to click to place an anchor point. And then I'm going to come this way, and right, see how that line runs right across there? See it's running across here? It goes right to there. You see where I am, everybody?
Yes.
I'm going to place an anchor point there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, and in the same position, see how that line runs right across there, right to here, I'm going to place an anchor point right there. So let's go View, Fit, Artboard and Window. Let me zoom in on this a little bit more. Probably zoomed in too much. Let me zoom out. View, zoom out. Okay, so what I've done in this step is I went in and I placed an anchor point there and there, 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 and there. Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Any questions? None?
No questions.
All right, now, so that I can make this maybe a little more visually easy for you to understand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the View menu, and I'm going to go to Guides, and I'm going to hide the guides. So now you don't see the guides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to, again, employ the Direct Selection tool, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before, only instead of doing it on the boxes, I'm going to be doing it on my bleed area. And I made 4, so I went 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. And I'll come over here, click on that one, and this was a right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And look at that. Isn't that cool? 1, 2, 3, 4. Come up to this one. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's happening is, because I placed the anchor point there, instead of having this entire line curving, the point stops it. So the anchor point right there and that anchor point right there are affecting the bend, and it is staying straight beneath that. So does that make sense to you? Do you understand why this is working the way it's working?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I come over here with the Direct Selection tool. I click this guy here. I have an anchor point down at the bend. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 there. And then I'll go to this guy right here. There's actually a point there, so I don't have to worry about that. Down. This is a down arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to come up here, and this is an up arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this guy over here is a left arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a right arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm almost done. I got to come over to this guy right here, and this guy gets a right arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this guy here, which has the anchor point, which will stop the action right there, click on that guy, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And now if I deselect this thing, what do you think of that?
That's cool. That's pretty easy.
Yep. And does it look, actually, I missed one. I missed one right here. I just spotted it. I missed this guy right here. This guy goes to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. There we go. Okay? So that's all it is to create a box and to create a bleed for the box. Now, the other thing, excuse me, the other thing that you have to do, there's one more part of this. And that is you have to indicate all of the scoring, the folds. See all the folds? You have to indicate all the folds. And actually, they did this one wrong. That's wrong. They made a mistake. I'm going to show you how to go about doing the folds. Okay? That's the next step. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my layers panel. And now the thing that might mess you all up, I hope this doesn't mess you all up. I have all these extra layers down here. But in reality, if you're doing this, you wouldn't have this original layer. You wouldn't have this bleed layer. you wouldn't have this dye layer. You would have an original, a trim, a real trim, and a bleed. You'd have something more like this going on, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to lock the bleed layer, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the trim layer. And I want to select everything that's on that trim layer. I don't know whether you know it or not, but if you click to target that, if you click on that little targeting button there, what it will do is it will select everything that's on that layer. Did you guys know that? Did anybody know?
Actually, I
I did
didn't.
not. Mm-mm.
Watch when I click it. You see how everything got selected? So instead of having to go in, let's deselect it. Instead of having to go in and marqueing the whole thing like that, with the layer open, all you have to do is click on that, and it selects everything on that layer, and that's the only thing that's on that layer, okay? Okay? So working with layers is actually, in many ways, a very big help to understand layers and to actually work with them in Adobe Illustrator is a very big help for you. So what I want to do is I've kept, let me just hide this for a second. Let's go back and have a little perspective here. I have my original here. This is my original true 2, and I have my trim. There's my trim, which is unmodified, and I have this guy, which has been modified. This is the one that we're actually working with. This is my final, and this is my final bleed. So what I want to do now is I want to take these elements, and I want to see whether I can combine them. Let's go to the View menu, and let's go to, I'm sorry, go to Window. See, again, I can't get at it. There we go. Window. I want to open up Pathfinder one more time. With this selected, I'm going to hit Combine or Unite. I'm sorry, Unite. And again, I got the same problem with this. So I'm going to go Edit Undo, and I'm just going to select these two right here, and I'm going to move them down 1 pixel. And then this guy here, select him, move him down 1 pixel. That's the down arrow. This guy here and this guy here, 1 pixel down, okay? It's not going to hurt anything, just moving it ever so slightly. And actually, I can do this in one shot. I'll do all these guys 1 pixel up, and then this guy down here, 1 pixel up. Now, that should do it. Let me click on that, and let's try uniting them now. Boom, look at that, perfect, okay? So why did I do this? The reason I did this is because I want to create the, and I'm going to bring back the trim. See how I got my trim? I can bring my trim back so I can get a perspective on what I'm doing, all right? And as a matter of fact, let me unlock this, and let me select this, and let me make this even easier by coming in here and changing its color. Let me change this to a light blue. And you might like this because this might help you visualize it a little bit better. Hit OK. Now watch this. This is really neat. Watch when I deselect that. Look at that. Isn't that great? So now I can see sort of like a guide where I'm going to lay my lines to make my dashed lines. So do you understand what I'm trying to do here? I created a bleed area. I created a trim area. That's the trim area. Trim area, do you know what, when I say trim area, do you know what the trim area really does, guys? Can anybody tell me what a trim area really does?
Isn't that for the printer? So
Well, all these marks that we're making, all of them are for the printer, but each one has a very specific purpose. And the trim area, if you can picture the printer printing this on a very big piece of paper, the trim area is where a die, they have a thing called a die, and it's sort of like a cookie cutter for paper products. And what they'll do is they'll align that die to the trim area, and they'll punch that piece out prior to folding it up. And the trim area usually is in black, and that's what you're seeing there. Next to it in red is the bleed area. Now, what is a bleed area for? Who can tell me?
To make sure that certain things don't get cut off from the design when it goes to the printer.
Well, yeah, so a bleed area, any place that on your design you're going to have a color that will actually go off the page is going to need a bleed area. So you're going to, let's say you wanted the entire box, except for the glue panel, to be in red. What you would do is you would create a complete area of red all the way out to the bleed, all the way around, minus the glue panel. Maybe later on, when we actually show you how we're going to design our box, I'll show you how that's done. But that's basically what it's all about. We're talking about anything that's going to actually bleed off of any of the sides. There has to be an 1/8 of an inch area to which that art goes so that it is absolutely certain to properly bleed off the page. I hope I'm explaining that well enough to you. So I'll bring the trim back, and I'm going to lock the trim, because right now what I'm going to be doing is I'm not going to be working with the bleed, and I'm not going to be working with the trim. I'm on what I call the real trim. And actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of the real trim. I'll change it to Fold, F-O-L-D. Now, even though the trim area is also on the fold area, I'm going to be putting the fold lines on this. So that's why I'm calling it fold, okay? That just so that you know why I'm doing it, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I got my fold layers activated. I'm going to close the layers for 1 second, and I'm going to close that for a second. I don't need this anymore, and I don't need this anymore. But what I do need is the line segment tool, all right? And I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to open up the stroke panel, okay? So have you guys worked with the stroke panel yet?
Yeah,
Anybody?
A little bit.
I've worked with it a little.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating. Oh, and by the way, I will bring the layers back. I did absolutely turn this trim on, the one that I made blue. The reason I turned this on is because it's going to help me orient where I want my lines to go. That's why I made it blue light like that, and I have it on so I can see exactly. I don't actually need it because I think I'm smart enough to be able to oops, the wrong one. I'm smart enough to visualize where they go, but just to make it easier and easier on you, I brought the trim up that I made blue so that you can see where those lines are going to fall, all right? Because I have to create all these lines using the line segment tool right there, and I have to go into my stroke panel, and I have to establish dashed lines for it, all right? Everybody cool on what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, she sounded like she was ready to pass out. Is this terrible, guys, what I'm doing?
No, I think I'll get it. I just have to watch it again while I'm doing it.
Okay, so I am going to take this thing. Am I doing a decent job of showing you this, or am I confusing you? I hope I'm not confusing anybody.
Oh, no, you're not confused.
You're not confusing us.
I'm not confused. I just had to step away for a minute, so I missed a couple things, but I'll just rewatch it. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Now here's the deal. When you create your score lines, the score lines generally are gray. So what I generally do is instead of having a stroke of blue down here, I'll just come up and I'll grab a gray. Okay, now you notice I didn't remove all these colors in this particular case. I'm only going to use that gray, and that gray is as good as any gray for us. So with gray stroke, like that, and I got my stroke panel, I'm going to set my stroke weight to be, I think, let's try 0.5 or half a point. I'm just going to come over here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm just going to draw a line right across there. Like that. Let's see what that looks like when I deselect it. Okay, that's pretty good. Let me go to the view. Let's go to the trim. It's a little light. So let's go back up here and let's make it 1. Let's see what 1 looks like. Yeah, it was 1. Okay, so you see what that should look like, guys? Any questions about that? It's just a 1 point, it's a 1 point gray line segment. And I did it straight by holding the shift key down. All right? Are we good?
Yep.
All right. I don't need the layers anymore. I'm on the proper layer. Let me bring this back. I'm on the proper layer. I need to select this. I'm going to get the selection tool and select it. I'm going to come over to my stroke. I'm going to get my stroke over here. And I'm going to click on dash line. And it automatically sets up a dash line. The problem is it's a little bit out of control. A 12-point line might be okay. Let's make it a 9-point. 9. And let's make it a 5-point gap, and let's see what that looks like. You know what? That ain't bad. Let me just see. Let me see whether I like that. It gives you instructions over here. Let me show you. It gives you instructions. It doesn't give you instructions. Maybe it does
I
down.
think it does in the actual directions.
Here
of
it is,
the-
over here. Hold on, let me see. Please use the box specifications. Drawings are not to scale. Oh, it doesn't say. Okay, it tells you in the other, but you know what? I'm not going to hold you to that because I tried to do it and I don't think it looks right. What I used, and you can use this if you want, or you can use the instructions that you were given. It doesn't matter. If you use the instructions that was given, that's fine. I used a 9 and a 5. So my dash is 9 points and I have a 5-point gap. Now let me just show you what that looks like. Go to the layers panel and let me hide that and let me deselect it. And that's what it should look like. That looks very accurate. Okay? So really, those are the 3 basic elements for this project. Now, the next trip is to just use our little trim. Go back in and use our trim. And I'm going to start. Now, here's the thing that you need to know. I have my stroke engaged. And my stroke is engaged to a dash line 9-point with a 5-point space, correct? So what that means basically is every time I drag a line segment, oh, and it's in gray. Every time I drag a line segment from this point forward until I deselect this and change this color, all of my line segments are going to be gray with a 9-point dash and a 5-point gap. So really, the only thing you have to do now is click on this guy, come over here, and hold your shift down. Hold your shift down and drag over to about here. And now you got that dash. Come over here, again, hold the shift key down and drag over to here. And you've got that dash. Let me go up. Come over here, click, hold the shift key down, and go over to here. And you got that dashed line. Click, hold the shift key down, come over to here. You got that line. And do the same thing over here. Click and drag it over to there. You got that line. And let's go view, zoom out just a little tiny bit. Let me get this thing in position so I can do the verticals. Got to do the verticals now. Oops. And put it down a little bit. There we go. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 verticals to do. I'm going to come over to here, click, hold the shift key down, and just go straight up until I get to that point right there. And then I'm going to come over to this one, hold the shift key down, and go straight down until I get to that point right there. I'm holding the shift key down so that I get a nice, perfect straight line. Shift, drag it down to right here. And shift, drag it right down to there. And let's go view, fit artboard and window. And let me go up to my layers panel. And let me hide my trim. And look at that. That right there, once I deselect that line, whoops, that right there is your project. What do you think, guys? Was that easy?
That's not too bad.
No. So really, if you just do this step by step based on what I did, and even if your box is slightly different than this, it doesn't make any difference. The box has to have the same basic properties. It's going to basically do the same thing. It's just going to be slightly different. I mean, I didn't bother downloading the template for the other projects, but there's still going to be a box and there's still going to be a variation on this. So what I did here is more than likely going to work exactly the same way with the other boxes. I just happened to choose this particular box because that's what I wanted to do, use this box. Okay, so really you should be able to do this. And again, the important thing for you to understand, let me open up my layers panel here. What you're looking to do is you're looking to do the bleed. There's your bleed, and you're going to do your fold. Okay, so it's actually two elements in the end that you're going to do. The trim was when I started laying my box out. I duplicated it so I'd have this for a background, and I could use that background essentially as a way of showing me where I want to hit my fold lines. So I'm duplicating things in certain instances so that I have backup, so visually I can sort of figure out what I'm doing. But what I'm really doing are those two right there. That's what you're looking for. Okay? Any questions?
So when we submit it, though, we're going to submit it with the sample next to it so that you can see it like that?
You can if you want. You can do away with it. What you can do if you want is you can, and it's totally up to you if you do this, you can unlock this layer or hide this layer. I'm going to unlock the layer, and I'm going to delete that. And then what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to use the Artboard tool. I'm going to drag the Artboard tool. There was a size. Was it 1117?
No, it said that's why I didn't really start, because it just said to pick the size, and that's one of
all right. Does it say to pick a size?
Yeah, it says pick the appropriate size, and that's what I was going to ask you is how do we determine what is an appropriate size for something?
I'll show you. Go to the File menu and create a new file. All right? Or better yet, no, go File Open. Sorry, go File Open. And I'm going to come in, and you see the image that I'm going to open is called Die Line Hot Sauce. That's what my die line is called. And it's just a JPEG image. The ones that you have, if you have the other project, will essentially be the same thing, but it'll be die line something else, okay, whatever the other product is. I'm going to click on that, hit Open, and what it'll do is see how it opens this thing up, and it gives you an artboard. Can you see the artboard back here? See it? Watch. You see the artboard?
Yes.
And can you see that the artboard is actually smaller than the art itself? It's actually smaller. The art is bigger than the artboard, correct?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go to the View menu and, oh, geez, and zoom out. And then I'm going to engage the Artboard tool. And all I'm going to do to get this thing big enough to work on is I'm going to drag these little squares out as far as I want to go. I'm going to go way over here because I want to, and of course it's going to go right in the way of that panel. Can you guys even see this panel, a participants panel I'm moving right now? Can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, you can. So it is in the way. It's a real pest. So I'm going to drag this thing pretty much over there. And then I'm going to drag this guy up a little bit higher, right about there. And drag this guy right down to about there. And there you go. See, so I've actually made this artboard a little bit bigger. And if you want...
Your participant panel, we can just see what you're playing with.
Can you see this panel right here?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I thought you could. Anyway, I'm going to, now engage this and even make it bigger. So I made it this big because in the end, I wanted to build mine right here. And after I get done with it, let's go back to mine. There's mine. I'm done with it. I deleted my die line. Delete it, right? Okay, so I've done that here. Now what I can do is I can go View, Fit Artboard in Window, and I can again engage the Artboard tool. And now I can come over here and I can bring this down to a size that is more fitting for my final piece. And that isn't bad. That's probably pretty good right there. There you go. Okay? So that's what you would do in the end. After you get this thing all done, excuse me, that's what you would do. And then you would save it. I think the instructions tell you to save it as a PDF. Is that right?
Oh, I don't remember. Probably.
Yeah. Well, let me quick take a look and see. Let me go in here and see. Might as well take a second and look at this. And let's go to...
It does look like it's a PDF.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Then I won't bother. I'll trust you on it. It's probably a PDF. Anyway, whatever it tells you that you're going to submit it as, you're going to submit it as a PDF if that's what they're telling you. You don't have to submit the original. If you follow my directions, you should come out with something that looks pretty good. Now, what I will do is this. I want to show you something. So here's what the next step will be. I'm going to drag this over like this. And this was, I think, 2 inches by 7.5. So once again, I'm going to get the rectangle tool. Come over here, click. And I'm going to build me a rectangle that is 2 inches wide by 7.5. Okay? So now I have this rectangle right here. And for our purposes, let me go to my color. Let's remove the stroke and let's put a fill on it of, say, orange. Yeah, that's probably good. Let's make it a little more orange. All right, because I'm working with hot sauce. That's pretty good. Okay, so we did look at this last week, but I just wanted to show you how easy this is going to be. So this guy here is actually the same size as one of those panels. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to have this color over the entire body of our box, okay? Which we very well might. What we would do is we just go to the free transform tool and we would take this guy and we would drag it over like this. Now remember the bleed. So I'm going to take it a little bit further onto that glue flap. But there's a very important thing for you to understand. This is something that you should know. When you have a glue flap like that, you don't want to put your printed color all over the entire glue flap. Can anybody guess why not?
Doesn't it waste ink?
No, it doesn't waste ink. What it does basically is the ink could affect the glue, and the glue may not properly adhere to the glue flap or to the box. So what you do is you make it go over about 1/8 of an inch so you get your bleed. Now look over here. See this side here? This is going to have to bleed. So what's going on here is this box here, if I want this thing to be done properly, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to select this guy, and with the free transform tool, I have to drag that over to that bleed right there, and I should bring this thing up at least to here. Watch this. Should bring it up. Come on, right to there. Should bring it up to there, and I should bring this down to here, right to about there. Okay? Now, what that will do is that will guarantee that that nice orange color will go all around the box. Now, I have to deal with these ends separately, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But these guys here will end up being white. Now, you could, if you want, you could add color to those, but generally those inside flaps, you don't necessarily have to, okay? So it's totally up to you whether you do or you don't. If you do, you have to create a shape and modify it. But for this, what I would do is this. I would go in and I would create a shape, a rectangular shape. I'd come up here and I would create a rectangular shape like this. Come on. There we go. Like that. Okay. Let me see if I can get it on the line a little bit better. Let me zoom in. There we go. And I would make it a little bit bigger because it's a little bit off. I see it's a tiny bit off. There we go. That's on the money. Okay, so I'd make a rectangular shape like that. Now this is just assuming that what we're doing here is we're going to be going you know, all the way over this. And what we would do is the same thing. We would come in here with this, and we would hit the Add Anchor Point tool. Okay, we come over here with the Add Anchor Point tool, and we would add an anchor point right about there, and we would add an anchor point right about there. And then we would do the same thing with the Direct Selection tool, where we would take this thing, and we would just go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. And then what we may do is come over here and add anchor point, say, right about there, okay? And what we would do is with the Direct Selection tool, click on that and move that thing over like that, and then click on this guy right here. And, oh, you know what? Actually, what we want to do is add an anchor point. I'm sorry, add an anchor point right there. That's what we want to do. And then click on this guy and move that anchor point over 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that, or as far over as it needs to go to get that off there. Okay? And then this thing would still bleed. I mean, I could have added an anchor point here and moved it over a little bit, but this would definitely work. And then what I would do is I'd take this thing, click on it, and go Edit Copy, Edit Paste in Place, and then come in here and, you know, the Reflect tool. Are you familiar with the Reflect tool?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you double click the Reflect tool, and you're going to preview this, and you'll see that it automatically flops it vertically. Okay, hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom, hold the Shift key down, and I'm just going to bring it down until it gets in place down here. And I have to also flip it along the horizontal axis as well. So I have to flip it along the horizontal axis as well. Let's see if I did it. There we go. That's what it is. Only it's not exactly right. I have to see what's going on with this thing. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. Okay, hit OK. Let me see if I can fix this. Then what I would do is I would get my regular selection tool, click on this guy right here, and I would just bring it over. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. over until it reaches that point. And then this guy here, well, you know what I think the problem is? It somehow or other, let me try this one more time. Let's go to the vertical. Let's go to the vertical. Nope. Nope, it's still acting weird. All right, so I would just basically change these points. This point here would come over like that. This point would come over like this, like that. There we go. And then this guy here, I would bring in sort of like that. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, this guy should come to about there. That's probably good. That'll probably work. Okay, that would be close enough to do it. Although you'd probably, you know, could fool with it a little bit more to get it even a little bit better. I think I probably need to fool with it just a bit. That's probably better. That's probably good enough. Let's go to the View menu. Let's take a look. This guy here should come over. Hold on. This guy here should come over. I need to place a point right there. That's what the problem is. Let's place a point right there. There we go. Right there. And now move this over just a touch. Ah, wrong point. Jeez. Try it again. Click on that point. I didn't get the point clicked. There we go. There we go. That's a little bit better. Let's go to the View menu. And this thing is in the way. View. Fit Artboard window. There you go. And again, you don't actually need this to go all the way over the flap like that, although they generally do or they don't. It all depends. But basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that you cover all of your area and make sure it bleeds. You do not want it to bleed over your glue flap. Okay? any questions about this? Because now we're getting into the point where we're going to be modifying our box and making our box a color. Now, if you want to do this, what you can do, this is, let's say that this is your front, and that's your side, and that's your back. Okay, so let's get rid of this for a minute. Let's move this out of the way for a minute. Let's move this out of the way for a minute. Let's say, for instance, that what you wanted to do is you wanted to have red on one, white on the side, red on the back, and white on the side. And what you would do in that case is you would select this thing, and you would just basically drag this over until it hit the fold. You don't want it to bleed, okay? And actually, you want it to come over to here because that's your front, all right? And then you're going to just go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and then you're going to hold down the shift key and just drag it over to there, okay? And you're going to have to adjust it a little tiny bit. Looks like you have to adjust this tiny bit. For some reason or other, it looks like it got smaller. I'm not exactly sure why. It shouldn't, but it looks like it did. So I'm just going to adjust that over there a little bit. So now you've got a box that's going to have a red front, or an orange front, orange back, white side, and white side. Or if you want to add another color, you add another color. Then, of course, you can bring these guys back in for your flap if that's what you want. If you want your flap to have that color, you put that in for that color. If you don't want it to have that color, let's say you want your ends to be white, okay? You're going to have a white end. All you would do is click on this guy right here, and you would adjust this because it wouldn't be bleeding at that point. You understand? You don't have it going over the edge, or actually, no, you would. You would have it go, no, you wouldn't, because this would be showing. You would bring it right to the edge. You'd bring it right to the fold, right there, okay? This guy here, on the other hand, because it's going to be trimmed away, you would bleed. But this one, you wouldn't bleed because you want this to be white. Am I making any sense to you when I talk this way?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with a lot of white on this box, but the front panel and the back panel will be orange. And the end caps will be white as well. That's how this box will look. So you can do it that way, or you can do it where you got color over the entire box. And if you do, you can put color on all of these panels if you want, but not the glue panel. You don't want the glue panel. And you don't really need to have color over all the flaps either. You don't actually need the color all over the flaps because, you know, the flaps don't really get shown until you open the box. The color really is for when the box is sitting on the shelf. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So then the other thing is, let me get rid of these two things because they're not any use to me right now. Let me click on this guy or this one and hold down the shift key and let's drag it over. Oh, and by the way, now I know why that is a little bit bigger, is because of the bleed right there. There's an 1/8 of an inch bleed. That's the actual correct size. This one was a little bit wider because of the little bit I put for the bleed. You guys remember I did that?
Yes.
Yeah, so when you see one a little bit wider, that's why it is. All right, so this is what I want to show you. When we get to the point where we're going to be building the actual box, you're going to do a layout like this, and you're going to apply your graphics to this box. And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a panel like this. And I think I might have actually created a panel. Let me go File, Open, and let's see here. Open Recent Files. Let's see. Box Art. There it is. You see my box art? This is one of my panels for my box art. Let me do this. Let me grab this guy and let me go copy, edit, copy, and let me come into my, there we go, and let me go edit, paste. There. Oh, I didn't get my back. Oh, darn it. All right, well, you know what? That's no good. Undo paste. Let me go back to my box art. I think maybe, let's go to the layers panel. Where is the layers panel here? See if it's locked. Something's locked. Yep, there it is. That's what it is. Okay, so let me just grab all this. Did I get that? Something else is locked, isn't it? I guess it is. Let me try it. Let me try that now. Let's go edit, cut. Okay, I think that's right. Let's go edit, paste in place. There we go. All right, so there it is. So there's my box. That's my box graphic. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to show you how I'm going to make a 3D box. Now, this label, this is my box. This is one of the panels for my box. What you're going to do is you're going to create 4 panels. I'm just creating one for this demonstration to show you how I would get started with it. What I would recommend that you do is take a look at actual boxes to find out what type of stuff is on the boxes. What I've decided to do on mine is I demonstrated last week, and I can show you this week. Go to File menu, and let me open recent files. Let's see where we at here. My hot sauce bottle. Here we go. There's my hot sauce bottle. So this is what I did and showed. You remember it from last week, me showing this? Was anybody here to see this last week?
I was.
Okay, so what I did essentially was I demonstrated how to make this bottle. Wednesday night, I'm going to work more on this. I'm right now I still got about not quite a half hour. So what I'm doing is I'm just sort of setting myself up to show you some of the things that I'm going to go over on Thursday in greater detail. But what I did essentially was I made a bottle, presentation of a bottle with a label on it, and I made it using a 3D revolve. And I demonstrated Monday night how I went about making that shape and how I revolved it. The only thing I didn't show you was how I applied the label to the bottle, which I did with this object right here. This is the one object, I guess it's locked, that right there. So I'm going to have to show you how to do that. And then the other thing that I did was I took this graphic that I created. My layers locked? Yeah, they're locked. That's what the problem is. I created this graphic. You see how this graphic looks like the profile still over here?
Yeah.
Remember when I undid this, there was a profile?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see how this looks different?
Yes.
Okay. The reason that looks different is because I revolved it and I expanded it. And once I expanded it, it turned it into a graphic, sort of like a complex vector graphic. And I know it sounds difficult, but it's a lot easier than it really sounds. So Wednesday, I'm going to show you how to revolve that onto that shape, and I'm going to show you how to expand it. The reason I'm doing it is because on my box, I wanted to put this on the front and the back, and I wanted to put this on the side, and then on the other side, I was going to have a written description of the product and a barcode and stuff like that, okay? So I basically distorted this object onto that side. And actually, if you take a look, can you see how that whole thing is expanded? Look at the difference. You see that shape right there? That's my profile. Notice that the profile is gone. See how that's an expanded piece?
Okay.
Well, can you see all the line work on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Look what happens when I click this. It looks a lot different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's only
Okay.
on half of it.
Yeah, you know why? Because that one is the actual revolved piece. That one here is the live revolve. This is the one that I took the live revolve and I expanded it. And by expanding it, it no longer can be unrevolved or worked on. It is basically, that's the way it's going to look. It becomes just a regular complex graphic. When I do this on Wednesday, it'll make a lot more sense to you because you'll actually see me do it. I don't want to do too much at one time because I want you to have the ability to let some of this sink in. But at the same time, I wanted to give you an idea where I'm going to be heading with this. And this is what you're going to be doing in week 4. So my feeling is the reason I'm showing you how to do these things now is so that you have 4 weeks to actually go in and go over the steps involved in doing it so that by the time you reach the 4th week and you're ready to do this, you'll have had some time to experiment with it, and it won't be as much trouble for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me go back to my box art for a minute. Let's see here. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so what I do want to show you right now is I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, this guy here is my graphic. What I want to do is I want to open up, I already got it open. There it is. I got my symbols panel, okay? So let me just explain to you that if you want to put graphics, there are 2 ways you can put graphics onto this 3D extruded object. You can either do it by applying it as a symbol directly to the object itself, or you can artificially distort it onto the side of the box. So I want to do it both ways to show you how it gets done. So to do this, what I'm going to start off by doing is going to my symbols panel. You go to the window menu to get the symbols panel. See it right down there?
Okay.
Yeah. So I got these symbols in here. Now, none of these symbols mean anything to me. I'm not going to use those symbols. So I'm going to first go up here, and I'm going to select all the unused symbols, which are all of them. And once again, this box. And then I'm going to hit the garbage can to delete them all. And they're all going to go away. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 of these. I'm going to duplicate this because I want to do this 2 ways. I want to select this is my front label. This is what I'm actually going to show you how to apply. So this is my front label. And what I want to do is I want to turn this into a symbol. In order for me to be able to get this on the box, this has to be a symbol. You can't just have a regular old graphic. It needs to be a symbol. Okay, so does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so you're going to make your front panel, you're going to make your side panel, and you're going to make them symbols. So I'm going to drag this in, and it's going to be a new symbol. I'm going to call it front. F-R-O-N-T, front. And I want it to not be a movie clip, but a graphic. So I changed the name to whatever side panel or front panel, in this case, front panel, and I export it as a graphic, okay? Keeping the registration point in the middle. Everybody good?
Good.
Hit okay. There. Now, you see what happens is it automatically becomes a symbol, and when I sit on top of it, what does it say?
Front.
Right. So this guy is actually now a duplicate of that symbol. I'm going to just get this out of here because now I have my symbol. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to take that symbol and I want to turn this thing into a 3D object, and I want to apply the symbol to the face of that object. Okay? So this object gets selected, and I'm going to go to the Effect menu. I'm going to go to 3D. And last week, I showed you how to create and revolve a bottle. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you actually watch the recording at all?
I sat in here and watched.
Oh, you were here. Okay. Okay, good. And you saw I actually started working on the box as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you know that in this particular case, I have extrude and bevel, and I have revolve. The bottle gets revolved. The box gets extrude and beveled, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I click on that, and I get the beveled dialog box, and I hit preview. And I automatically get my box going in 3 dimensions. And you come in here, and you can change the orientation of this, okay, to any way you want. It's totally up to you. I like off-axis front. Now, here's the thing that's important for you to understand. That blue panel right there represents the front of my extruded object. That's the important thing for you to understand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set the extrude depth. I'm going to try to make it look sort of square. And that's too big and that's too small. So I'm going to try to make around, I think it was 170 something. Let's try 178. Let's try that. And what do you think? Is that square enough, would you say?
Yes.
And then if you want to make this even cooler, you can come in, you can add a little perspective to it. That's too much maybe, but that's, see, there, I like that. Okay? So you see, now here's what I'm going to do. I hit OK. Hit OK. There's my box extruded. Okay, does that look like a pretty good box to you at this point? What do you think?
It's a little askewed.
But that's perspective. That's the whole point. I put perspective on it. That you don't have to put perspective on it. I just did because I thought it looked better with a little bit of perspective.
Oh.
So the important thing is now that I've deselected this so we can look at it, I want to go back in and I want to continue editing this because I want to put that graphic on the front of that box. And it's very important that you know a little bit about how to work with this. So I select this. I never, ever, ever want to go back up to Effect 3D and Extrude and Bevel again. I don't want to do it. Once I do it one time, once I get that on there, I don't ever want to go back up there and do anything with this again on that shape. You understand that?
Yeah, you pull up a panel and you do the edits.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. Window, and I want to come down to Appearance, and I want to come to 3D Extrude and Bevel, and I want to click on it. And what it'll do is it'll bring me back into the environment, and I'll be able to preview it. And now what I want to do is I want to map art to it. This is where, and I need to stop for a second and just talk to you. I do not know your computer, and I don't know how powerful your computer is. My computer, since I'm a graphic designer and I purchased my computer, you had your computer given to you by the school, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you may not have a powerful enough computer. I don't know what the system setup is on it. I know that I have a very powerful processor. I have a very high-end video card, and I have RAM, which is random access memory. Even with mine, it sometimes chokes my computer up because this is rather complicated. So you may have problems, you may have none. I don't know. I'm just alerting you that this could be a potential issue when you go to do this. So you'll have to see how it goes. But the overall process is not too difficult. You're basically just going to come in and choose an overall position, or you could drag this thing around, or you could play with these buttons. And I would play with all this stuff just to get used to how it all works. But choose an angle that you want to display your 3D box in, which I'm choosing off-axis front, okay? And then you're going to choose Map Art. And what happens is, as soon as you go into the Map Art environment, you get this little graphic that you see here. And at the top, you see where it says Symbol?
Yep.
And you see where it says Surface.
Yes.
And there's 6 surfaces. Now, it's a rectangular box. So you got 4 sides, a top and a bottom, 6 surfaces, right?
Correct.
Easy. So all you're doing is you're going from surface to surface to surface to surface until you get to the surface that you want. And I believe that's the front. You see the little red graphic that you see there?
Yep.
If you watch, as I go from surface to surface, that graphic appears in a different place because it's mapping the surface. And there's 6 of them. See, now there's the side surface. There's the bottom surface. There's the other side surface. There's the top surface. And now we're back to the front surface. So what I want to do is I want to use this surface and I want to put a graphic on it. So one of the things that I did was I cleaned out my symbol panel, if you remember me doing that, so I could just put my package front in. This way I wouldn't have a bunch of symbols in there. I only got the one that I'm interested in. You see why I did that?
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, so when you go to do it, make sure that you do these little steps, because in this way you don't have a bunch of symbols in there that you have to, sort of go through to find the one you're looking for. This is the one that I want. So I'm going to click that, and look at what it does. It automatically throws the thing onto the face of the surface, or it actually puts it on the surface of my box. Now, if you want, you can click Scale to Fit, and what it'll do is it'll adapt it ever so slightly so it fits the box properly. Okay? And if I wanted to, watch this. I'm going to go 2, I'm going to go 3, I'm going to go 4, 5. Now, see I'm on the side?
Yep.
I can actually come in here, click, and I can apply that same graphic to the side as well. Now, the problem is that I'm going to have to change the orientation of it. Why, I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like it's going to be very hard to do that. Oh, here we go. Now I got it. Let me go. Oop. Oh, wow. This thing's really going to be stuck. Ugh. Let's see if I can do it. Here we go. I got it. Oh, yeah. Now I got it. If I can just get that straight. There we go. See how it's upside down? Let me change it around. All right. And get it that way. There we go. Let me get that thing right. There. There. Look at that. Okay. Now, of course, the scale to fit. Now, of course, the thing that you want to know is, oh, God. It has a mind of its own. Now it's all whacked out. See, this is where you run into problems. Let me hit cancel. Okay, so let me. I can't even cancel. I got to undo it. So let's go back in. Let's go to 2. There we go. Come on. Yeah, it's locked up. See, this is what it's now. Hit cancel. All right, let's go back and try it again. So, all right, I'm not going to do it again because what happens is any little error you make like that, it'll lock it up. And the reason that it'll do that is because it's so complicated what it's asking this to do. It seems so easy, but it's not entirely easy. So the bottom line is to come in and to re-edit this, you just double-click on this guy, hit preview, and then you're just going to go into the map environment, make sure you're on the surface you want. You're going to come down and choose your graphic, and you're going to hit OK or scale to fit. There you go, hit OK. And now you've applied, hit OK. Now you've applied your graphic to the face of your box. What's cool about this is now if we go back into 3D Extrude and Bevel and hit preview, I can start moving this box around. Excuse me. I can start moving this box around. And look at that. The labeling follows the box no matter what I do with it. See what I mean? Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
And there is how you're going to apply your box. So I'm going to hit cancel and leave it just like that. So now there's another way. There's another way that we're going to do this. Let me show you the other way that we could do this. What you're going to do with this guy is the same thing. You're going to go to Effect. You're going to go 3D, Extrude and Bevel. And I don't know, I think it was 100, what did I say, 178, 178. And hit Preview. Yeah, that'll be good enough. And let me hit Perspective. Let's go a little bit of perspective on it. Let's do a little bit less this time. Hit OK. And hit OK. There we go. Okay, so now we got that one. Let me move this over to here. And now this guy here, what we're going to do is, and I don't know whether we can do this with a symbol or not. Let me just see if I can bring out this symbol and do it with a symbol. We may have to actually break the link of this symbol. Let me just see something. All right, so I have a symbol that I took out. All right, I'm going to select it. What's going on with this thing? What layer is it on? You're about to edit a symbol. Hit cancel. Let me just see. You know what? I think maybe I could do it this way. Let me go into here and let me go break link to symbol. Boom. Okay. So I broke the link to my symbol here now, and I got my graphic back out here. And it looks like it's one whole piece. Yeah, so let me go back. I think it's one whole piece. Let me select this. Let's see. Click on it. Go to the View menu. Oh, why is this not selecting? Okay, so it is selecting. Let me drag the whole thing. Okay, let me go Object, Group, Edit, Cut. There we go. Edit, Undo, Cut. Okay. All right, so here's the other way. Here's the other way that I wanted to show you how we could do this. Just for your benefit, if you decide that this is too difficult for you. Or if you want to apply the bottle, I'll show you how to do it with the bottle next time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to move this guy over to here. And I'm going to move this guy over to here a little bit. Get this thing. All right, now I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to place it right about there. Right about on the corner right there. Okay, and I'll even move it over a little bit, just like that, and move it up. Okay, so I kind of have this shape more or less where I want it, right?
Okay.
I'm showing you an alternate way of doing this. This is another way that you could do this, because we still have a few minutes left to do this. I'm going to come in here with this selected. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get the free transform tool, and I'm going to put the distort mode on it. So there's different modes. There's free transform, there's perspective, and there's free distort. Okay?
Okay.
Have you ever messed with any of these before?
Free distort. Well, in Photoshop when we did the billboard assignment.
You probably did the exact same thing with the billboard that I'm about to do with this label. You applied it to the face of a billboard, correct?
Yep, and you just move the corners.
That's it. That's it. You saw it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here now, and I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to place that there, more or less. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this thing down until I know it's hitting the bottom right about there. A little bit more. Right? Well, that's probably good enough. And then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to drag that way up like that. And then I'm going to grab it here, and I'm going to bring it down until it is reached the bottom of that. Right like that. And this guy has to come down just a touch, like that. There we go. And now let's see what we got. Go to the View menu, fit Artboard and Window. And you know, if you take a look at these two, I'm going to move this over. I didn't do that. I didn't do a 100% job on it, but I did pretty close to a 100% job on it. You see how similar they look?
Yeah.
So really, there are two ways that you could approach doing this. Both of them require a little bit of finesse. Both of them require a little bit of effort on your part, but the result will be very nice. And I'll show you Wednesday night. I'll show you how I'm going to save this. I'm going to go File, Save for now. And Wednesday night, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my logo and show you how I develop my logo. I'm going to put together the front of my box and show you how I approach putting together the panels for my box. And I'm also going to show you how to take my the label that I created for the bottle and apply the label to an object that's then going to be applied to my bottle. The problem is, I'll explain all this to you. I'm not going to go into it now because you need to actually have the demonstration. But those are the things that we'll look at on Wednesday. And all this is, like I say, in preparation for you to create a box and create a bottle or a container for your product, which will be your week 4 assignment. All right?
Yeah, so when we're picking out the bottle for our project, we should also be considering the box size that we're given.
Not necessarily, because you're never really going to put the one inside the other, and these are just for demonstrations. But what you do want to consider is what would be an appropriate bottle or container for your product. Which product are you going to be using?
Well, I'm doing the cologne and perfume, but I found some cool bottles that have it's called Cool Breeze, and I like the idea of having movement. And so I found some bottles that are kind of misshapen that look like that have a movement to them.
You may have trouble. Remember now, these are not real 3D programs. So you don't have the same kind of graphic flexibility with these as you would have with a 3D modeling program. So you might want to just stay with simpler shapes. I mean, if you want, you could send me an email with your bottle on it, and I'll take a look at the bottle and let you know whether I think you could do it or not. But keep in mind that you might want to just keep it on the more simple side, because there are limits to what you can do with a revolve and with an extrude. Just keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, I picked out 2 different ones that they just had a curve in them.
Okay.
They weren't like all wavy.
Well, show me. Why don't you send? You have it. Can you send me an email?
Yeah, they were in my on my mood board too.
Oh, okay. Just send me an email with the one that you think you want to use, and I'll tell you whether I think you'll have a problem with it or not. If it doesn't seem to be a problem, I'll just say you're good.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds good.
All right. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
You're good?
I'm good.
All right. All right. And I will see you Wednesday.
All righty. Sounds good. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank both of you. Tamara, you okay?
Yeah, I had to step away, so I missed some of it, but I'll catch the end of the recording so that I can get the stuff that I missed.
Okay. Were my demonstrations okay? I mean, they weren't too complex for you to understand. Were you good?
Yeah, I was good.
What you saw, you didn't see the whole thing, but what you saw, were they okay? You were happy with them?
Yes.
All right. You got any final thoughts or any questions before we end the session?
I will just tell you that with your demonstrations, they're probably some of the easiest demonstrations to follow along with.
Really?
And you show
Yeah,
us more of the tools.
Good. Because I have to tell you something. Once my computer crashed, I mean, it kind of threw me all off. I was like, I was all calmed down, and I was all like ready to really give a demonstration. And I think it would have been a lot better if the computer didn't. Once the computer crashed, it just kind of got me all on edge, and my mind wasn't working the same way as it was before the computer crash. So that's why I'm asking whether it was all right, because I knew going through the whole thing that I was still, all kind of revved up from what happened with the computer. I mean, that really flipped me out. I thought, this is a real disaster. What am I going to do now?
No, I really appreciate. We've had other classes. I don't know if Tamara has, but I've had other classes where knowing those free form tools were available would have really, really helped us. Like drawing the map for Walmart. We could have really used
that. Yeah, we could have used that like crazy, because
nobody's ever taught us that, and that's been the biggest frustration with these classes, is that we need to know how to use the tools, and nobody's been teaching us that. So
well, I love Illustrator. I'm a real Illustrator nut. I love the program. So for me, I have a great deal of fun teaching this stuff, and I think it should be stuff that you should know about. That's why I do teach.
I'm telling you, it's been very appreciative, because there's a couple people that we have a group Facebook Messenger that we'll sit there and we're looking up on YouTube together, and how do you do this and how do you do that, and talking each other through it, because we're really not learning how to use the tools on here. And it gets very frustrating when all you're being told in feedback is follow the rules of design, and you're feeling like you're doing stuff that is so basic, but you don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I truly appreciate it, because
or they expect us to know how to do it already. They come to class and they have the assumption that we already know how to do it, so they really don't show us or teach us how to use the tools for real.
Right. Well, it's not that I'm assuming you don't know how to do everything. It's just that I'm assuming that certain parts of it you probably don't know how to use. That's why you'll notice as I go along, I tend to ask periodically, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm doing? Because what I'm trying to do is whoever comes into the room, I only get 2 or 3 people to come in. I'm trying to figure out what you guys know and what you don't know. I'm assuming that you're all in the same class together, so you should all be in very similar places with each other. So that's why I'm asking these questions, to try to get a sense of what you know and what you don't know, so I can actually throw things at you that you don't know instead of things that you do know,
Basically, if it's not a square, an ellipse, or the text tool, we haven't been taught how to use it.
Well, all right. Well, I hope I'm changing that.
You are. Like, I have not felt so calm about doing a project in the year that I've been going to school here than I do right now. So
well, what I'm doing is I'm actually turning this entire course around. I'm showing you the end at the beginning. And the reason I'm doing that is because now you've seen this, and you got 4 weeks to go in and fool around with this. And if you do it early and run into problems, you know how to reach me. and you can contact me and we can discuss what you need to get it straightened out, or I can have you come into Blackboard and work with you and get it to the point where when week 4 comes in, you can actually produce these models and have them for your portfolio, which will really be impressive in a portfolio. Okay, you saw week 1 some of the things that I did. There's no reason why you couldn't do things very much like that. That's the whole key.
Yeah, and so I just wanted you to know I truly appreciate it. You've helped me a couple times in Blackboard too when I first started.
Which one are you? Your Breeze?
Breezy, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was straight up in tears when you were trying to help me. I was being passed between you, Wanda, and Christy,
Yeah.
and I was in tears. I was so frustrated.
Okay.
So, but I mean, now I use YouTube a lot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I could have used you to animate.
Yeah. YouTube is pretty good. YouTube is pretty good.
yeah, well, that's I was trying to draw a book.
I got a secret for you. There's also a bunch of really good free videos. If you go to Adobe, go to the Adobe site, there's a link that takes you to a section called Learn. And if you go to that section, in every one of the programs, whether it is Muse, Illustrator, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, whatever, there's a whole bunch of maybe 8 to 10 videos, and they usually run about 5 minutes that talk all about different aspects of the Adobe programs, and they're all free, and they're all very useful.
Oh yeah, I watched those too.
Oh, okay.
I know some of the class things under the required reading and
Under
videos
the Linda?
the Adobe ones on there too.
Yeah.
You mean under the Linda?
No,
Linda.com?
under Adobe.
Adobe. Yeah, if you go to the Adobe site, there's a link that takes you to, well, I guess it's like they call it Learn and something.
Yeah,
And-
they have they're like 5 to 9 minute long videos.
Yeah, on any particular one of their products, Illustrator, Photoshop, Muse. You were saying, Tamara, that you had a problem with Muse. They got a whole bunch of videos on Muse, explains it as well as I would. They're very good. They're very good videos.
No, the one that I had really trouble with was Animate. That's
Animate,
the one that
yeah.
I.
Yeah. Yeah, Animate's a pain. I know what it is because it's based on HTML. It's no longer Flash. It's all based on HTML. I don't like it either. I used to work on Flash videos for people, and I don't like Animate. I don't like what it does. It's so different, and it's just like ugh, you know.
Oh, I was very sad when I took that class because my son wants to do comic books, and we were thinking that we could do something together with it. But after I took the class, I was like, I'm never touching it again.
Yeah, right.
That was the worst experience ever.
Yeah, it's no longer a
Were you in the same class, Breezy?
Yes.
Louise?
And mine
Okay,
ended
so you
up,
know what I'm talking about.
yeah, mine ended up looking more like a PowerPoint presentation.
Well, you got to start somewhere, though.
Yes. I'll probably go back to it, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So we all good?
we're good. Thank
All
you.
right. So Wednesday, hopefully you guys will come. Tamara, I guess you're not coming then. You're going to be going out in the field, huh?
No, I'll be here on Wednesday.
Okay. Good.
I'll be here on Wednesday, but after that, I'm going to the Wild Blue, whatever it is.
Okay. Well, just do me a favor. Contact your academic advisor and explain the situation to him, and say that you had a conversation with me and I'm willing to work with you, and just ask him how he would want me to work with you. All right?
Okay, that sounds good. And if I can get some of those cool photos, I'll bring them to class next week.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that. That would be wild. Okay. All right. If you guys are good, then I'm done. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Wednesday it
Have a
is.
good
Okay.
night.
It's a date, guys.
All right. Have a good night, all.
You too.
Have a good night.